What's going on? It's your boy CJ Goodfella back with CJ Sports and Entertainment, and talking about Jay Z today, man. A lot of people, you put Tupac, Biggie, Eminem as their best rapper alive, among some other guys, and eventually, probably, hopefully, God willing, sometime this week, I can give a maybe a top five or a top 10 of my personal all-time favorite rappers. Not necessarily the bar or the status for the best ever. Just my personal favorites. Maybe I do a top 10 dead and top 10 alive guys or something like that, or a little mixture. But what about Jay Z being one of the best rappers alive? When you look at his overall, resume, just strictly on the mic, there's not too many people I don't think it's anybody that can compare when you talk about overall his resume. Came out the gate with a classic album. Some people have it top five, top three. Some people best favorite album of all time, Reasonable Doubt. Wasn't it didn't have a glitz and glamour when it first came out. It was in the midst of Pac and Biggie, pretty much the climax of that. I mean, the end of that era, and it kind of went under the door, went in the back door. But a few letters, people really realized for what it was. I'm talking about people pretty much outside New York, and it was just on a whole another type of soulful level. And I think this generation doesn't appreciate soulful music, especially the penmanship. I think that's just premium, and any great rapper has to have the penmanship, and Jay-Z does. I hear people say, he stole Biggie lyrics, or I remember the people say Fat Joe stole Big Pun lyrics. How the fuck you stealing lyrics from guys that's been dead for over 10 years, 10, 20 years now, and you still going strong? In Jay-Z case, and I laugh at those things, you know what I'm saying? But man, he just, songwriter, first rapper in the Songwriter Hall of Fame, hit after hit. I mean, Reasonable Doubt, Blueprint, all those great albums that he didn't had. And you got to look at the longevity and how he was able to cross and still be popular through eras. You have to give him kudos for that as well. Since the mid 90s all the way to 2000s through the 2010s. I mean, only person that really has that longevity, that high level longevity, comparable to that would be a guy like LL Cool J, who did it through the 80s, who did it through the 90s, and was good through some early 2000s as well. And you have to give him that, man. The flow is changed. It's still great through era. No matter if it's mumble rap era, trap music era, Biggie and Pac, East Coast West era. This man is doing it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that he's the greatest rapper of all time, in my opinion. I'm saying that he needs to be in that conversation. And people say Eminem, this and that, and people just think he's the greatest thing, and I have no problem with that. But when it comes to Jay-Z, his rhyme, his lyrics are more complex than Eminem's. They're more deeper. You know what I mean? He can rap on a variety of situations. He can rap on a variety of different topics, and he's just more versatile than Eminem. You hear Eminem get serious, like Toy Soldiers and all the other crazy stuff, but he says some of the craziest shit that a black guy wouldn't get away with, killing his mom, and he's just really ballistic with his rhymes, and he's very crazy with his rhymes. You know what I mean? It's nothing that the average hood guy can could feel after a while, and sometimes he just wears on you. You know what I mean? It's just nothing that the average black guy can relate to in some of his songs. You know what I mean? With Jay-Z, riding with him, man, you can relate to what he's talking about. He's from a urban background. He's from New York, the mecca of rapping, really the mecca of hip hop, and some of the greatest lyricists of all times came from New York. You know what I mean? That's the true mecca of fire spitting. From Jay to Nas to Rakim, to a host of others, and I just tend to put him over Eminem. That's just my point. And I just like all Jay-Z CDs. Basically, I never heard a bad Jay-Z CD. I heard. I think it was the Complex, the rap page at Kevin Music. They said that the Kingdom Come was a step back. That's when this albums that he fell off of, and I didn't agree with that. I love the album, whole album or majority album talking about Barry and Dipset. Dig a Hole was a classic album song. I think that gets looked over as one of the greatest diss records of all time. And, for people that say Eminem killed Jay-Z on Renegade, go back and listen to Jay-Z verse. Jay-Z is not a very energizing rapper. He's not going to really, go off fast and really put bass behind his voice and go crazy like an Eminem or a Kendrick Lamar. Jay-Z is what his name is, kind of a jazz type of flow. Very very subtle, very smooth. But if you're a guy that listens to lyrics, it's very complex. And things that Jay-Z says sometimes, it might not be the punchline Lord God of the game. He might not be a punchline rapper, and that's what you're looking for in your raps. I understand that. But the guy is, he says some things that if you go back and listen, you would be wild. And for guys that like to break down lyrics, guys that them old school, back in the day type guys that like to go through and break down lyrics and listen to them and listen to what they say and listen to all the analogies that Jay-Z and metaphors that he brings to the table, you understand why he's one of the greatest rappers. And would I be upset if somebody said Jay-Z was the greatest rapper or the best rapper of all time? Not at all. Biggie and Pac, they had their time, but it was a small piece of a pie for Biggie. Biggie is probably the greatest flow I ever heard in my life. But Jay-Z, but him building from 90s to all the way to 17, that's 20 years, 20, 30 years in the game. It's possible that he can pass him, just based on resume, but based on, quality, you got to give it to Pac and Big, but quantity and quality, I think Jay-Z, you could give it to him. I'm not saying he's the best, but it's a large argument to be made that he could be the best. And we're not even talking about the pioneer and who he's brought into hip hop so far and things he did outside the mic, but we gone.